Hello there. In this tutorial I'm going to show you how to create forms in Symfony in the controller. In the previous tutorial I showed you how to create forms from the twig and how to use the request to get it through the controller for the submit action. Now in this one is a little bit different from the first approach because it's a lot better basically to do it using Symfony form builder. The first thing we need to do is to create an action in the controller, and I've already made the page ready for basically this is the Symfony book that every Symfony developer has to read, using a form without a class. Most of the tutorials you will find online is about forms and entities. Most of them, even to some extent you will find people doing a contact page using an entity, but better to use, sometimes you will need to use forms and you don't need it with a class. So let's copy this. Copy, and let's go to our controller and let's create that. Now we already have the contact action, so we will call it site contact action to differentiate it. If you look at the form, it has a default data. A default data is for the message. This is for this, but I don't need it here, so delete it and delete that part of it, and let's create a subject where the subject will be after the now this is the name, and the other part is the type, the field type, so that will be text. So this is more than a name. It will be even used for the label. We created that. Note here to note is get the form and form handle request, and the form is valid. So because we are using this, we're gonna get a lot of things. We create form builder, you will get a lot, the validation, the security and everything. In here, for example, I'll get the name and make sure it's not form get data. This is a general approach if you want to put it in an array, but here we want it in strings individually, so it will be form get the key, and the key here we want is name, and make sure that is in display get data. Now this is the full get data for the string if you want an individual piece of it. Now what we want is, we have done that in place, we created the controller, and the controller has to retain something like a twig, or it retain a value basically. Now we create a twig, we go to the pages, new twig, and let's call that twig site contact, the same as the controller name, for constant. You could name it anything, but for, to not confuse yourself. And .html, and don't do the .twig because the .twig will be included automatically here, and then finish. So we have the twig. If you go, for example, to the previous page we created, you want to extend that and you want up to the body. Let's copy that and go to our site contact and paste it and close the body, the block. And block. And have we done everything? Let's call it site contact. Okay, now we go back to the controller. Now it's very important to know the name of that, to include it in here. So as speed, I will take that. Copy and stick it here. Remember what we called it? We called it site contact. Site contact. And we don't have the data, we have the name. And that's what we want for now, to test if the controller works. Name. Okay, now the final thing we will need. No, we will need one more thing, is to create the view, the form view, the create view. Form. Oh, that will be form create view. So now we have it in place. And we go to the twig one more time, and we put the in the body part. Our first thing is the name. The second thing is the form. Now the form, this is actually in the form, is a function that displays the array of the form. Now we created the twig and we created the pages controller, and the one last thing we need to create is the routing. So if you go to the routing for the for our bundle, let's copy that and paste it. And we call it site contact, just to be consistent. And that will be the action for it, is site contact, and we'll call it site contact. Let's save. Now we created everything. Let's go to site contact. This is our website. Site contact. Now what's wrong? Controller line 51. Define variable name. Oops. Yes. This array is basically related to. We declared the name, but it was empty. Basically, when there is no in the display, so it's created the error. So I'll show you how. It's in the controller 59. So this is called in the twig, but it wasn't validated, so it has to be there all the time. So if it's before the validation, basically it has to be declared. So name, let's make it empty. Okay, let's say to display software now, email, my email, and that will be from, and the subject, let's call it anything and anything. Let's send. Yep, now we know that it's working perfectly. The next step is to make it send an actual email. So if you look, in the previous tutorial, we have created the Swift mailer, and here's the message for it, and the body, this get message sent, copy to here. That's after the form is validated. Now the message here for the Swift message to send everything, including, but don't confuse yourself, because we have in the twig in the form we have the message in different part for the text area. Let's call that body, not to confuse ourselves. Or you could basically, if you don't, make sure that it's referred here, for example, when you get the data we need to get is email equal, let's just copy that, copy everything from that would be email, and the next one we want subject, and as a subject is message, but here we call it body. Or change this, for example, you could call this anything, but don't confuse yourself, basically. Now it's done. It should send an email. It's in perfect working order. Let's save. Let's go to the page and let's send, and check the email if it has sent. The time 1:50. And I want to show you one more thing which can be handy with the form that we have created. If you want, for example, the subject area not to be required, not to be validated, basically, you go to third element, which is the array that contains various things you could do. One of them is required. In this instance we will make it false. So if, let's check it. Let's make that empty. So for example, it will restrict you. Let's leave that empty. Still asking why required equals, that was in the subject here. Let's refresh the page. Sent. Now the required is not is optional, basically, after it wasn't. So make sure you refresh. So if you do anything, it will send without a subject. It should. No subject. See how simple it is. Thanks for watching, and in the next tutorial, I will show you how to create form using the form type, which is the most effective way in creating forms to be reused. See you later. Bye.